Know what time it is? It is your boy Genesis. Yes, I am back. Back, y'all. I am back. What is going on today? It is currently 5:11 p.m. and today's date is the 18th of December 2024. The year is coming to an end. How do you guys feel about that? And are you ready for 2025? Most people have New Year resolutions and stuff they want to do, and it's like, oh, okay, and this is what I'm gonna do. But then it gets to February, March, and you forget all the things that you promised yourself that you were gonna do, all the people you promised you were not never gonna talk to, all the ladies and guys that you said you weren't gonna pick their phone calls, but you go on ahead and pick their phone calls because that's what we do. We retract on our words. Some people backslide. Some people say, you know what? I'm going to stick by my words and I'm going to stay solid. Some people don't. Most people don't, actually. But for right now, we're not going to be going deep into New Year resolutions. But if you do have a New Year resolution, I would suggest that you go on ahead and cancel it. Okay. Go on ahead and cancel it. Because the older you get, the more you realize, you know what? If I could just accomplish one thing this year, I'm Gucci. So just make sure you put on your New Year resolution, one thing, which is don't F up, okay? Don't F up. Whatever your name is. Like for me, I just put on my New Year resolution. Don't F up, Genesis. That's it. Don't you F up, dog. So it's like that's all I need for my New Year resolution, okay? Stay solid. Don't F up. Stay solid. Do not F up. Okay? Because when you do F up, I don't know now. I don't know. But with that being said, man, um, we are gonna get into the show. We're gonna get into the show real quick, real fast. It is going to be legendary stream right now, right quick, right fast. All right. I was trying to tune into my YouTube channel from my other computer. Here we go. Hmm. Rush Hour Stream with your boy Genesis. People, can you sit down in the chair? Thank you. All right, the title for today's stream is Rush Hour Stream with Genesis. Are you driving back home from work? Or, well, if you're driving, don't be watching YouTube. It's just, come on, facts, okay? Don't be watching YouTube if you're driving from home, okay? That's just, please don't do that, okay? Do not do that. If you're driving home, or shout out to Godfather, he says, greetings from Atlanta, Georgia. Fun fact, Godfather, I am currently in Augusta, Georgia. Isn't that wild? I was in Atlanta when the hurricane hit and came to Augusta, Georgia. Then I moved back to Atlanta, Georgia. But I lived in Atlanta for like 3 years. I've been in Georgia for like 5 years. So I am pretty much ready for a new environment. I would say somewhere around Tennessee, Virginia. Some people say Texas. But maybe the DMV area though. Maybe the DMV area. Um, Y'all tell me what's the best spot to live in the United States? Like one of the best states to live in the United States to have peace of mind. I mean, you're never really gonna have peace of mind in this world. Okay, it's just what it is. But like the states where you know for a fact that you know what, this is pretty much chill over here. Some people say Arizona. Some people say um. Some people say New Mexico. I'm like, what? New Mexico? I don't know about going to New Mexico to start a life, but Utah. Some people say Utah is like pretty much chill. Some people say Utah is pretty much chill. So let me know in the chat. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. And double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, and let's get it. So, gang suspect arrested for home invasion in Colorado. Them Tran Erigua, what's their name? Man, they're going wild over there in Colorado.
Well, Harris, the city council member who brought the gang situation involving this very apartment complex to light, says she's tired of it being downplayed. She says this is not just another gang in Aurora, and this latest incident proves something needs to be done.
I will not be silenced on this issue. I will continue to speak up. I will not stand for this human suffering. I don't care if you are here legally, illegally, documented, undocumented. You have a fundamental right to feel safe in this city.
Now, on Tuesday, police were called out to a local apartment complex on reports of a home invasion. That's where they were told that a group of people entered the victim's home, where they were then kidnapped and tortured. Now, one victim was stabbed, the other had their fingernails ripped out. This went on for 4 hours until the victims were released after promising not to call the authorities. Aurora's police chief says the victims, both Venezuelan migrants, bravely called anyway.
I want to make sure that anybody, whether documented or undocumented, knows that they can call law enforcement and we will respond. There is no place in this country, there is no place in this city where somebody should be victimized or mistreated based upon their documentation status.
Now, federal law enforcement sources tell Fox News ICE, Homeland Security, and the DEA are involved in this latest round of arrests. They suspect at least 14 of them are TDA gang members. Harris.
Jeff Paul, thank you. Incoming Trump border czar Tom Homan is sending a message to Aurora's police chief.
I just saw your piece on the chief of police standing up and talking about this issue. What's lacking is an ICE person standing next to him shoulder to shoulder. So he's talking the talk, but let's hope he walks the walk and hand these people to ICE when he's done with them, because we can remove them not only from the community but from the country. And if law enforcement officers don't help us do that,
Tom Homan ain't playing around. I tell you, Tom Homan, dog. He's not playing around. He's telling you guys, look, are you going to listen or not? If you're not going to listen, just better know you are getting deported. You're getting deported. And ain't nobody can save you. Nobody can save you. You're getting deported, and that's it. Shout out to Tom Homan, man. If you're here illegally, and then you are committing crimes you're not supposed to be committing. Like, you're already here illegally, bro. Can you chill? Just chill, bro. If you're here illegally in the first place, you should be chilling, relaxing, figuring out how to get in line and be of status. Okay? That's what you should be doing, not trying to cause harm to people, to just regular, normal people just doing what they're doing to feed their family. Don't be out here illegally and then be trying to do something stupid. Okay? This is from an immigrant who became a United States citizen, who came here legally. I came here through the airport. I went through Homeland Security. It took me 5 years to become a United States citizen. So it's like, bro, chill. Okay? If you came here illegally, then you need to chill. All right? Go and find out how to become or how to change your status from whatever your status is right now to a good standing status. Okay? So you don't have to be here illegally. And you hear some people say, what are you going to say to the people who've been here for 25 years, 30 years, and they've contributed to the society, but they're not legal? Bro, you've been here for 25, 30 years and you haven't figured out a way to become a United States citizen? What? Yeah, you need to go home, bro. For 30 years, bro, you didn't figure out a way to see how can I become a United States citizen? How can I figure it out? What do I need to do? For 30 years. That's what people say. Especially the Democrat. They'll be like, some people have been here for 25, 30 years. They've contributed to the society. They've paid to Social Security. So it's like, bro, so you're going to just deport them? So Trump wants to deport them. Bro. for 30 years? You couldn't figure it out? Man, bro.
We're certainly going to do that starting January 21st.
You know, Kennedy, this was taken up a notch. I mean, torture. They're talking about dropping people off in the middle of the night. You heard that one lawmaker say they don't know where they are, pulling people's fingernails, tying people's hands behind their backs and beating them. I mean, this is gang warfare. That's what this is. I don't see how you confuse this with just regular police work.
Well, if they're going to bump it up a notch, then maybe law enforcement should bump it up a notch
Right.
with how they charge these criminals. I mean, because it sounds like terrorism to me. You know, if you've got torture and you're trying to influence a political outcome, I think you could make the case for terrorism here. And also, I don't understand whether they're elected officials or law enforcement. Like, I understand, you know, sort of hemming and hawing on immigration in general. I get that, you know, and the idea that, you know, in general, immigrant communities commit fewer crimes than natural-born communities. Totally understand that. But this is not something where you're on the fence go, I don't know, I kind of think that we should protect these guys. You know, they're fun, they're so multicultural, they really add so much to the community. No, they are showing you they are the worst of the worst. They are displaying and advertising everything. These are the kind of people you should want out of the country. They make people scared. They make communities less safe. So make an example out of them, either by putting them in prison forever under terrorism charges or getting them out of there so, you know, people who are good can thrive.
Well, look, that second option only works under Trump. It could never work under Biden because they just come right back in.
Oh, President Harris is going to give them a really hard time.
Not this Harris.
And this is the thing, right? So bad actors are giving immigration a bad name. Okay, now it's looking like, well, if you're an immigrant, even if you're illegal, you know, you may be susceptible to committing crimes. But the fact is, illegals come in here and do those things. It's illegal. If you come in here illegally, you are susceptible to be doing stupid things that you're not supposed to be doing in the first place because you came in here illegally in the first place. So it's like, what is this? Your first act should not be coming to the United States illegally. It should be figuring out how to get in here through the proper channels. Don't be coming into the United States illegally and then expect to be pardoned or I don't know, whatever people think when they're doing what they do. But if you came in here through the proper channel, you came in here through the airport, you did your due diligence, you figured out, okay, I want to be a part of this country, I want to be a part of this nation, I love the United States, I want to be a part of this whole idea. And then you became a United States citizen. So it's like, you did what you were supposed to do. You followed the proper channel, and now you're here. So it's harder for those people to commit crimes because they came in here through the proper channels in the first place. But if you just crossed the border illegally, running out, doing 360 helter-skelter, moving from state to state, of course you're going to commit crimes because you're just trying to survive. You're trying to survive. Man.
Other one. Oh, my goodness. So, Charlie Hurt, one of my main concerns, though, is, as Kennedy's pointing out, and as they make things harder for people that they move in on, this isn't just simple, I'm going to rob you type of crime. They are now terrorizing the entire country. Because if they come to, and by the way, they're in 50 states, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some part. I mean, Colorado's got a lot of them.
Yeah, and I mean, Colorado's 1,000 miles from the border, and you have to ask yourself, why are they there? Well, they're there because you have sanctuary cities in places like Denver that welcome this, this flow of illegals from the border into the center of the country. And I agree with you. It's kind of amazing to listen to the mayor of Denver or the mayor of Aurora complain about the hysteria about the coverage of all this. And it's like, if that's what you're focused on instead of your residents getting, whether they're legal or not, getting mauled and terrorized and getting their fingers ripped off.
How bad do you want it to get?
Yeah, exactly. And then if the argument is, well, the police are making up the stories, then that's your fault too. Fix the dang problem, and the only way you fix the problem is to enforce the law. And if you're in the country illegally, you have to be removed from the country. And this is especially true for these criminal gangs. But it's almost like this whole woke mind virus where they want to be, act like they're all happy with open borders and sanctuary cities. That's more important to them than the basic safety of their residents.
Well, I call it economic tyranny because they're spending so much money and these people are not American citizens. But what you're saying is true, too. These communities that are hit first are migrant communities.
Exactly.
They're the weakest among them because they're already here, some of them not even legally trying to kind of make it, whatever they're going to do. And they know that. These gangs punish those people.
And there was an investigation done into this, one of the, I don't think it was this apartment complex, but another one. You know what people are paying to rent apartments in these places? But up to $2,000 a month. And these are people mostly Hispanic, and they have families, they have children, and they're paying, can you imagine paying $2,000 a month for an apartment? And this is going on next door to you? It's lawlessness.
So, Rosanna, we've seen a lot in the city. I don't live in New York City, but I cover it here, just as you cover the news here. Where do you think, seeing Eric Adams now, talking with Martha MacCallum at 3 p.m. on the story today, where do you think this goes politically now? How much pressure does this put on the left?
I think the mayor is totally he already sat down with the incoming border czar. And some people, like in the city council, they're criticizing the mayor. They're saying he's got a lot to worry about. He's got, charges against him. He wants to be pardoned. So, of course, he's going to go along and do whatever is necessary to be on the right side of Donald Trump. But I think the mayor also has said from the very beginning, yes, he did welcome the migrants here. But then when he
told
realized
them that they could vote if they were here illegally, too.
But then he changed it. Then he changed his mind, and he realized how much it was costing the city in services and money and what we were giving up as tax-paying citizens in this country. But it is a problem when we start thinking that we're worried about protecting the people who are committing crimes rather than worried about protecting the people who are the victims of crimes.
Exactly. Like you have mayors, especially the mayor of Chicago, talking about protecting illegal immigrations or protecting illegal immigrants rather than protecting the people who is supposed to be protecting the citizens. It is just wild.
We have the TDA here, too.
Yes, we do.
There are reports that they have taken over the Roosevelt Hotel, which is the welcoming center. And by the way, there are reports that there are so many undocumented children without any parental supervision at the Roosevelt Hotel. We've heard about reports, Charlie, you've heard about these reports, where they've actually making these kids do criminal activity to pay them off. So that because they have no money, so they make them go into Times Square and rob a few people, whatever. They're putting them to work with the TDA.
Yeah. Well, and you scare the bejesus out of people when you hear about the torture because you think, there but by the grace of God go I if I run into one of these people.
That's right. And look, you are right. Indentured servitude is a hallmark of these transnational cartels. Look, going back to that councilwoman in Denver, I agree with her, but I argue to take it a step further. She says everyone has the right to feel safe. No, everyone has the right to be safe as American tax-paying citizens here. And the reality is that gang affiliation is an existing enhancement. And the reason that these guys can torture like this, that they are torturing like this, two reasons. Number one, that is a playbook fair and square of these transnational cartels, of these absolutely hideous, originated gangs from Central and South America. And number two, it's because they can get away with it, because they feel emboldened. The reality is that rampant torture, that horrific crimes, the indentured servitude of minors, the pattern of rape, the kidnapping, the torture, every crime under the sun, the brutality mixed with the cavalier nature of it is all because they knew that they could get away with it thanks to this administration and local city councils and governments like Denver. And the reality was, because of those gang enhancements, that was sort of stamped out a long time ago, before the world turned woke and before it became a war against ourselves, meaning against ICE and the federal government actually trying to enforce this. So it is abjectly terrifying. But like we keep saying, there's a new sheriff in town. But again, the collateral damage are those lives lost, all of those beatings, all of that injury?
I mean, just think about it. We still have the commander-in-chief being Joe Biden, and these people had the courage. They had the courage to come in here, do stupid things, and no, look, there's nothing's gonna happen. Nothing is gonna happen. But tell that to Laken Riley's parents, okay? Yosei Ibarra just shattered Laken Riley's family with what he did. So if you keep allowing illegal immigration, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get situations that you cannot really handle. Nobody's saying don't, migrate to the United States. You can, but you got to do it in a legal way.
All of that broken community, all of that fomented, horrific climate right now, that's the collateral damage.
Yeah, I've had law enforcement sources tell me, too, that it is kind of a hang a shingle out for initiation. How much pain, how much torture that you dish out. There are people in this country who will join, sadly.
And we had, a pattern of that. We had a history of that here in New York City. Remember in Chinatown, depending on the decade, there's a history of essentially sort of foreign-born transnational cartels or gang affiliation that come over here and essentially try to operate how they did in the old country. We saw it with the Sicilians, right? And the whole point is, once the Americans came and said, not on our watch, not under our laws, then it stopped. We deterred them. But essentially now, here we are again, and no one is doing anything because no one can do anything because who you think is going to do something? Joe Biden? I don't think so. Oh, Kamala Harris? No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, the 47th president-elect is going to be the president on the 20th of January. So New York Sheriff is in town, adult back in the White House. So let's see how that goes.
The Trump-Vance ticket faced pushback earlier this year when they raised the issue during their campaign. Here's a visit, and one of the reasons why Biden and Kamala Harris could not win.
There's got to be some element of truth here. And of course, President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be.
Trump also isolated the problem, told the truth, got people's attention. Remember the debate.
You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States.
And of course, Aurora, Colorado's mayor went after those comments, which happened to be true.
And the former president, I think, has spoken about the city, but we are the 51st largest city in America, and this is relegated to a couple of apartment complexes, and I don't believe that that's the case certainly now. And so I think that it presented an image of the entire city being overrun by Venezuelan gangs, which was grossly inaccurate.
No, it's not actually. It's an invasion by them in the 51st largest city. Republican Congressman Pete Sessions of Texas, member of the Border Security Caucus, co-chair of the DOJ Caucus, and Oversight Committee member. So great to have you in focus today. This seems like an unsurmountable problem that's really going to be tough to wrangle. What do you see down the road right now that the president-elect has to do first?
The president-elect needs the cooperation of local people, and as these issues become more apparent because of TV coverage, because of the media now focusing on what's actually happening, not just to innocent people, but American citizens, who are also very vulnerable to these attacks. The federal government will begin doing their job. Donald Trump will make sure that not just with Tom Homan, but dedicated federal law enforcement who for years have had their hands bound will begin this process, and they will be successful. And we do need to keep having people to report these incidents so that the bad guys will be prosecuted, but shipped out of the country.
Look, I know the details are hard to hear. I mean, it is torture what some of these people are going through. Many of them are here as migrants who are being preyed upon by the illegals because they know that they are weak. They are just sitting in wait, basically. But as you mentioned, American citizens in some of these cities like Chicago have been living under what I would call economic tyranny by liberal mayors. Your quick thought on that?
Well, the bottom line is even the mayors of Chicago and New York are now admitting that they must do business, not just with the federal government, but must do business as a messaging to say, we have a problem. This all comes as courtesy of the Democratic Party and of the Biden administration. But it happens in all these cities that have Democratic mayors. They are now going to find that there's competition by the people who are this silent majority who will speak up, and that is what we need.
President-elect Trump's team is laying out those day one border security plans and executive actions that he will take, and they include giving federal immigration officers more power, restarting border wall construction, and starting mass deportations. The House Border Security Caucus, which you are part of, Congressman, held a news conference just this morning on those priorities and the failures of the Biden administration. Let's watch this together.
It's so criminal, literally, for these mayors and these governors, these Democrats who are saying, we're going to resist.
The long national nightmare of our open borders is almost done.
As the disastrous Biden administration is coming to an end, and with that, there will be an end of open borders, asylum abuse, lawlessness, sanctuary cities. All these will end as well. Every single one of these cartel thugs and evil terrorists needs to be deported immediately.
Well, when it comes to those sanctuary jurisdictions, an analysis highlights what the incoming administration, specifically the borders are under Trump, Tom Homan, is up against. It finds that there are 8 million illegals living in sanctuary jurisdictions. Now, that's not the total number that have come in, but the majority of them have sought sanctuary. Well, can you imagine? Of course, the welcome sign is out. 56% of all illegals currently in our nation are in those sanctuary cities. They are hiding nearly 60% of them from ICE. That's got to be against the law. Can we make it against the law if you are hiding terrorists and gang members who've come here illegally?
Well, we can make it against the law, but I think we need to remember that today on the border, what is happening is the Democratic Party and the Biden administration are allowing the huge pieces of unfinished border wall to be carted off, to be sold. This will delay, once again, by a number of months, the ability not only for Congress to reprioritize and give the money, which was already given for border security. And this is currently going on. And I've heard no Democrats say the president should stop this action.
Oh,
They're
interesting.
simply delaying our ability to effectively, quickly put a stop in this hole. We have to have the border wall finished necessarily before we go transporting all these people out of the country, or they'll be right back in like a snake with an open hole.
Hey,
I mean, why would you be selling the border wall? What are you doing selling the border wall? Who sells the border wall, guys? Like a commander-in-chief orders, according to these guys, they're saying Biden is selling the border wall material. Why would the commander-in-chief be selling the border wall material if something isn't deeply wrong? I think something is deeply wrong, guys. Put it in the chat. Do you think this is a nightmare? Because why would you be selling the border wall? You're selling the border wall and you're supposed to be the commander-in-chief? Hell no. Man, this ain't even right. Anyway, Eric Adams of New York may be turning into a Republican. This is the thing, like, so many Democrats with common sense are going to be Republicans after this 4 years or within these 4 years. Eric Adams, you may become a Republican. Fetterman may become a Republican as well. But check us out.
Now, my exclusive interview with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. We sat down today at City Hall. He is the first big city mayor to sit down with the incoming border czar, against really the wishes of his own city leaders, saying he will work with the Trump White House to deport migrant criminals from his city, and his message to fellow Democrats to wake up after their sweeping 2024 election losses. We had a big election, obviously, in November of 2024. There are a lot of prominent Democrats who are speaking out of what they're referring to as a real wake-up call for your party. Let's watch some of these voices, and then I want to get your reaction, Mayor.
Donald Trump is not an idiot. You know why we know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
Court, the popular vote.
Democrats, you lost. You got your butts whipped. Own it, live with it, accept it.
I don't even know what the Democratic Party is at this particular moment. They don't seem to have a real sense of direction at this point.
So Trump won by 11 points in the Bronx and in Queens. He cut in half Biden's lead in New York. What do you say to what these individuals are saying? Do you agree with them?
Wholeheartedly. That we stopped speaking to people, we started speaking at people. I think I like to say it's a cryptocurrency moment. You know, when I first started, said I was going to invest in cryptocurrency, people laughed at me. Who's laughing now? And when I first got elected in 2022, I told the party it's public safety. People are tired of the revolving door where people are constantly committing violent crimes and back on our streets. We ignored it. I talked about the affordability issue. I talked about the migrants and asylum seeker issue. I mean, Iowa caucus showed that is one of the top issues. Not hearing the people and you engaging in dialogue while individuals are fearful of affordability, losing their home, the future of their children, and you having these intellectual conversations, and people are like saying, what the hell are you talking about? I'm hurting, and you're asking, is Donald Trump Hitler or not? It's just not talking to the real needs of people.
So you have been strong on those issues. I look back at the things that you were saying over the years. Obviously, you spent decades as a New York City police officer, but when you came into office, you were asked on ABC if you were concerned that being a sanctuary city was going to create a magnet to New York. And here's what you said.
Not at all. This city has always been a sanctuary city, and we've always managed those who wanted to come to New York City to pursue the American dream.
But now, you know, people see Tren de Aragua in Times Square. They see gang members and criminals who are getting arrested and getting released, put back out on the street. $6.6 billion on migrants in New York City. People complain that the city is dirty. What do you say to those who say that your turn on this, and you're sitting down with Tom Homan last week and talking about making us safer New York, came too late?
Well, and this is why this is so important, to be able to not have a bumper sticker understanding of a policy and a person's belief, but engaging in real conversations, which we don't do that much often anymore. Sanctuary city is totally different from a man-made crisis that we saw. This is what sanctuary city states. If you're in this city and you are paying taxes, you buy a loaf of bread, you pay taxes, those are your tax dollars. You have a right to the services of the city. You have a right to the police officers. You should not be fearful to put your children in school and get health care. That's what a sanctuary city is. What a sanctuary city is not is having an unsecure border and allowing gang members to come in, paroling people into the country where you're telling them you can't work for 6 months or a year and you have to be dependent on the local cities to take care of you. We're saying that as a sanctuary city, if you're here and you are participating legally, you are provided the services as you start your pathway to get citizenship or legal status. That has always been what took place in this city, but it is not a safe haven for those who are committing criminal acts or trying to harm migrants, asylum seekers, and other New Yorkers.
Well, you see what Tren de Aragua is doing in Aurora, Colorado, torturing 15 people, taking over at least a couple of apartment buildings there. You know, what do you say to the people of your city who feel like this is out of control? You've got 11% of the Manhattan hotel rooms are occupied right now by migrants. And a lot of people out there, despite what you say about the situation, think that you let it go too far.
And listen, they were angry. And many of them were angry because they didn't understand. They said, Eric, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, Eric? What are you doing? Now you're switching because you got indicted and you won some sort of, pardon from the OG, the legendary 45th and the 47th president-elect? I mean, I don't know, Eric. Let us know.
Why are you allowing these buses to come in? Hey, I can't stop them from coming in. That's against federal law. Well, why don't you let them work like all immigrants have done and found their way? Federal government told me, Eric, you can't allow them to work. You know what, Eric? You can't even allow them to volunteer to clean the streets, remove graffiti, and give them a stipend. That's against federal law. And then I have city law that told me there's a right to shelter law. Anyone that comes in the city, anywhere on the globe, can come here and get shelter for as long as they want. I had to go to court and fight that and give a 30 and 60-day notification. That's how.
Oh, okay, Eric. Eric is saying he was fighting for the people of New York. New Yorkers, he's been fighting for y'all. He's been fighting for y'all from day one because he didn't want this illegal immigration situation in New York. That's what he's trying to say. I'm telling you, man, this guy is flipping the script. He's flipping the script. He may become a Republican. Him and Fetterman, they may become a Republican. I'm telling y'all, man. He definitely wants pardon. And Trump already said he may pardon Eric Adams. And that's something that Eric Adams is hearing now and is like, yo, I'm going to have to. This is politics right here. Because, I mean, Eric Adams, this is a poor Democrat who was supporting these illegals in New York. New York spent about $1.5 billion, I think in 2019 to 2022 or something like that, on illegal immigration. From 2021 to, I think it was, I need to get the information for you guys. I think it was in 2022, $1.5 billion. Let me get that information for you guys so we don't spread wrong information. For illegal immigration, NYC. So, in 2023, New York has spent $1.45 billion to help migrants. Okay? $1.45 billion in 2023 alone. So this is what New York spent on illegal immigration. So it is what it is.
We dropped 220,000 that came here to now 50,000 because we said you only going to stay in our shelter for 30 days. And we were fought on that. And so, yes, people were angry. They saw the headlines, look what our mayor is doing, but in reality, the mayor was handcuffed. So what I had to do was make sure my police protected those who were the victims of these crimes and made sure that I had to follow the housing laws that were in place, but while we fought them in court.
So you have butted heads with your city council a lot on the things that you wanted to change. Their chamber is right down the hall here. You must run into each other all the time in these halls. Other mayors are taking a different tack. Brandon Johnson in Chicago and the mayor of Boston saying, we will not bend or break to the Trump mass deportation rule. This is what people in the city council meeting, these are residents in Chicago. Here's what they're saying about their mayor's stance on this. Watch this.
You caused all this money to go to illegal immigrants. We want a forensic audit of the money that was spent on illegal immigration.
Can you do the job, Mr. Brandon Johnson? And it's looking like you can't do the job. We need to start voting different in these cities like New York and Chicago.
That last voice, we have to start voting differently in these cities like New York and Chicago. Do you see a movement happening in cities when you look at what happened in the election? And are these voices going to change these blue cities potentially into red ones?
That's a good question, and that's why I believe that the Democratic Party must ensure that they're listening to the voices of the people. The American people, they spoke loudly and clearly, and they stated that we have to secure our borders, we have to deal with the immigration crisis, and we have to address those violent individuals who come to this country. It's a privilege and a right to be in America, and if you violate that, you should not be in this country. That number of people, which I believe is a small number, committing those violent acts, like the gangs that we've mentioned, should not be here.
So let's talk about the gangs. Let's talk about what you agreed to with Tom Homan. Violent criminals will be deported under the Trump mass deportation. What constitutes a violent criminal? Is that someone who is accused, someone who has been convicted, someone who wears gang tattoos? You know, where do you draw the line? Did you make that line with him?
No, we did not. I thought our conversation was a great conversation. Tom and I both sat down, and we both agree on violent individuals should not remain in our country. We have laws here in the city on how that could be handled. My legal team is going to sit down with his legal team to make the determination if an executive order can change that. One of the things he would like to have is that's access to Rikers Island. That's the jail in our city. The law that was passed under the previous administration said that no ICE officer can be in any governmental building. There are exceptions to that. We're looking at those exceptions. That's my core issue. I've said it prior to the election. We can't allow people to come into the country or the city committing violent acts. And those numbers who are doing it, we need to address that. And I'm happy to have a partner in Tom to see how do we address that in a real way.
So are gang tattoos that are TDA enough to get someone removed in that first group?
No, it's not. No, it's not. And because we got to also ensure that we're not violating the laws of our land. And the mere fact someone is wearing a gang tattoo, which is an identifiable marker of this gang, is not enough to say, okay, you have a gang tattoo, now you must be removed. But what we should be doing at our border, we can be making that determination. Are we going to allow you to come in? We're allowing people to come in. Think about this for a moment. We're allowing people to come in without a sponsor, without any employment, and we're telling them, you can't work. So what are they going to do? We're creating a pipeline of criminality by creating these terrible criteria.
Are you going to find a way?
This guy is speaking facts. I'm not even going to cap. He's speaking facts. But, well, you can learn from your mistakes. I feel like he's learned from his mistakes and is realizing that, you know what? I have to protect the people of New York, and I have to make sure that I stand with the New Yorkers. And that's what he's doing. I stand with New Yorkers, and that's what he's doing. You got to give him credit for that, though. You got to give him credit for that, because he's doing what he's supposed to do, even though he was sort of kind of part of the issue in the beginning, but now is saying, you know what? F that. I am for New Yorkers. And of course, you could say he's going to get a pardon from the 47th president-elect, because Trump already said he was going to maybe pardon him. And maybe Eric Adams is playing politics. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it looks like he may be playing politics. I mean, who knows?
Through executive orders to allow ICE to function in this city to carry out deportations?
We're going to allow them to, the areas where we can allow them to do. Right now, I could allow ICE to come on into Rikers Island, anything but for deportation. But Allowing them access to do criminal investigation is going to help us all. But we're going to sit down with our attorneys and see what executive orders I can do to give me more power to go after those who are creating illegal acts. Now, we're going to also, I want to be very clear, we're going to also tell those who are following the law, doing the right thing, here's the pathway to participate in the citizenship and utilize the services that the taxes you are paying for allow you to utilize.
So let's go back. When you started to realize that 200,000 people was too many, you said this could destroy New York City. What was the reaction that you got at the White House when you asked for help?
When we saw the numbers coming in, we were getting at one time almost 8,000 a week, 16,000 every 2 weeks. I mean, we could just do the math, unsustainable. And at that time, the right to shelter, we were being sued by advocates that required us to give everyone a bed by a certain number of times. We were getting buses 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. And we reached out to the White House, 10 trips to Washington, D.C., asking them for help in securing the border and stopping this flow. I went down to El Paso and also went down to the Darien Gap, and I saw the flow and the threat that we were receiving. We didn't get the support. We got $200 million out of.
So people are saying this guy caused the illegal immigration status going on in New York. That's what people are saying. So if you're a New Yorker, put it in the chat. Say New York in the house. If you are a New Yorker, if you live in New York or you visit in New York or whatever, just put it in the chat, New York or New Yorker or whatever. Just let us know that you are in New York right now or reside in New York. And do you think Mayor Eric Adams is or was one of the first people to start this whole issue, immigration issue in New York? But now he's backsliding and saying, you know what, I have to protect the people. Look, I don't know. I just think it's playing politics because Trump says he's going to pardon him.
$6.5 billion deficit. And so many people believe that, okay, Eric, it's in your rearview mirror. It happened already. You got 170,000 out. No, the damage that we are going to see long term from spending $6.5 billion. $200 million could have gone to those chronically absent children. We could have put hundreds of millions of dollars into the senior care, helping people with medical debt relief. So when you start to look at the long-term impact of the services we did not provide, it's going to start materializing in the years to come. That is the destruction that I was talking about.
So when you had that pushback from the White House, they stopped returning your phone calls?
Prior to this crisis, I asked the president to come to New York City when we were having a crime problem, the gun problem. He came here and met with our law enforcement. We had a continuous conversation with the White House on these important issues. When this issue happened and we asked for assistance over and over again, and I refused to remain silent while I was watching this city harm, we no longer received the support that we deserved. We no longer had an opportunity to communicate with the president. It was a clear statement from the White House that they didn't appear to be happy that I was standing up for the city. And other mayors should do that. Look at what happened in these other cities, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, Houston. Cities should not be taking away the resources from their residents to handle a national crisis.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Well, you've heard from Eric Adams. Eric Adams is doubling down, saying, you know what? Even the White House, even the president, our Democratic president, Joe Biden, wasn't supporting me at the time. And it was a clear message from the White House. You heard him say that, okay? But it's like, you know what? I mean, who knows? Who knows, guys? I think it's playing politics.
And happening today, the House Border Caucus is going to be holding a press conference to discuss their priorities and goals for stopping the flow of illegal migrants into the United States.
And President-elect Donald Trump, his transition team is already eyeing several key policy changes.
Couldn't come soon enough. Peter Doocy is in Washington. Peter.
And one of the top agenda items today for the House Border Security Caucus is going to be expanding the use of ankle and wrist monitoring bracelets for people that ICE knows are here illegally, but they can't deport yet. Our colleagues at Fox Digital are exclusively reporting this morning that Republicans are going to argue the GPS jewelry is a lot cheaper than locking all these illegal immigrants up. $8 a day for a bracelet versus $150 a day for detention. And they might need to order a few million of these things if the plan moves forward. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, 7.9 million illegal aliens are residing in sanctuary cities, counties, and cities. This is becoming an unsustainable, dangerous problem for Aurora, Colorado. That's where 14 suspected Tren de Aragua gang members are in custody after allegedly invading an apartment and torturing 2 people. Police say at least 1 victim was pistol whipped. A council member there says at least 1 victim had their fingernails ripped off.
I am tired of this being portrayed as just another gang in Aurora. This is so heinous. This is a whole different level, and I am tired of it. I've been called a liar. I've been told this was in my imagination. This has been downplayed, and people are suffering, and I will not be silenced on this issue.
She is saying she will not be silenced.
Tren de Aragua problems were dismissed by some Trump critics during the campaign as being only a problem for a handful of apartment complexes. The problem appears to be worse than that, and it's putting pressure now on the incoming Trump administration to stop this specific kind of gang violence like they said they would during the campaign. Back to you.
So, Peter, are the ankle bracelets, the ankle monitors, are those going to be in place of having them deported, or they just want to keep an eye on them? Okay, there's a million in interior. We're going to know where they all are?
It sounds like they will explain that at the press conference today, but it would be while the deportation proceedings are in place. When the president-elect says that they're going to deport all these guys on day 1, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than just going and immediately taking 11 million people into custody and putting them back to their country of origin. This would be to have GPS eyes in place of eyes on them and in place of a jail cell, because there just are not enough jail cells at this point for 11 million people. So this is the bridge.
Right. Got to deport, you got to control, and we got to block, build a wall, build that facility. Thanks, Peter. So for the big apology is when it comes to this gang, and even though it might not be the Venezuelan gang, it looks like it according to officials there. Big apology should go out to J.D. Vance, to President Trump, to that councilwoman, and others who said this is a huge problem. It's not just one apartment building. You'll see that shot in a matter of moments. It is a big deal that they're breaking into apartments. They're taking over cities. They've overwhelmed Denver. And you had mayors and governors, including Jared Polis, come out and essentially say Donald Trump was making it up. Well, now the election's over. Tell those people that were captured and kidnapped and tortured that there is no gang threat and illegal immigrant threat in Aurora.
Well, this is what I'm sorry, go ahead, Ainsley.
Thank you, Lawrence. The home invasion started, it was at 2:30 in the morning yesterday morning, and you have this couple, or a man and a woman, I assume they're a couple, and the victims were kidnapped and assaulted. I didn't know that about the fingernails until Peter just said that. How painful would that be? The police chief said they were pistol whipped, they were beaten, they were mistreated. He's calling it torture, which I would say that's how you see in the movies when they torture people and they capture them in other countries, they rip out their fingernails.
We want information.
Exactly. And without question, he says it's a gang incident.
Yeah, well, it's a violent gang, and this is what they do. And I don't know why we are surprised that when we allowed this gang to come across the border, they're doing the same thing to our citizens now. But I want to talk about these ankle monitors, because I think the Trump administration has good intentions, but these things do not work. If y'all remember, a few years ago, I did a story in Indiana of the ankle monitors, because one of the people that had them got off after he beat his girlfriend. They put the ankle monitor on him, and within a month, he killed her. The same way, if you look at the Jocelyn Nungry's case, one of the Venezuelans had an ankle monitor on there, and he got got away and then murdered her. Part of the problem is that these ankle monitors are not monitored by the police. It's a private company that monitors the ankle monitor, and then they report to the police.
Don't they rip them off?
They rip them off, and then they don't alert the authorities to sometime 48, 72 hours after. So these people are long gone. I get the intentions, because what's going to happen is they try to put these people in custody. And if there's a country that does not honor the detainer to get them back, they can only keep them in custody for about 6 months. So there's a legal ramification right there, but they just don't work.
Right, and they don't have enough people to do the monitoring.
Right.
You know, you have to have eyes on, and as Peter said, you know, maybe it is just the bridge, so we know where these worst of the worst are, so that when it's ready time to go, we go and get them. This particular incident in Aurora is at that same place that we've been talking about for months. It's a place called the Edge at Lowry Complex. And apparently, the man was also stabbed, according to Channel 7 out in Denver. That's their news. But what's interesting, they wound up, at this hour, 19 people have been detained. That's the infamous place. That's the same building. And you know how the couple got out and got away from these people who were presumed to be gang members? They said, okay, let us go. We promise not to call the cops. And they said, okay, don't call the cops. They called the cops. 20 minutes later, the cops were swarming the place. They picked up 15, 16, 17, 18. They're now up to 19. And the DHS Investigations Unit and ICE also now trying to find more people involved.
They said mostly men. Mostly men, but some women, too. A
couple of women.
So J.D. Vance was on about a month ago with Martha Raddatz, and Martha Raddatz was determined to show that Donald Trump was making a big deal of this for the election, just trying to talk about illegal immigrants and their crimes. Listen to how tone-deaf she is, and if she's not typing an apology right now, it must be because her butler hasn't woken her yet. Listen.
President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border?
And, you know, it's unbelievable. It's the line, I think, of the campaign. Can you hear yourself? Todd Chamberlain, the Aurora County Police Chief, said, I had a discussion with individuals from the White House, and that when this occurred back on September 23rd, I believe, and that person at the White House basically told me, hey, once these immigrants get across the border, that's all we really care about. And to me, that's a problem. No kidding, that's a problem.
Well, you guys know my philosophy. Either you can be loud or you can be wrong. You can't be loud and wrong. And that was the media. She was a reflection of the entire media. They did not take the issue seriously, despite all the polling suggesting that the border was the number 2 issue. You would think there would be some concentration, but all they wanted to talk about is the eating of cats and dogs and all the other. They missed the larger problem there. I did an interview with Jocelyn Nungry's family as well as the district attorney in Houston a couple days ago, and we're going to bring it to you later.
And she's a Democrat, but she's pushing for the death penalty, and she said this is not about politics, it's not about which side you're on.
Well, she's a Democrat, but she's also a moderate Democrat that lost her seat, lost her office as a result of being a moderate. And that just shows you there's no place right now, it seems, for a moderate Democrat that's reasonable on these type of issues.
But we keep going to Senator Fetterman because he has a lot to say. They're in 20 states. If it is that this Venezuelan gang, they're in at least 20 states. And people like small towns in Utah are saying, we can't handle this. We need federal help because of what you did at the border. And by the way, I saw Bill Malugin did a report for Laura Ingraham last night. He got video on the Mexican side, and it shows thousands of people, average 1,500 a day, just going in and out like a line at like you're going to watch a Taylor Swift concert. And they have let in through their app. They said they control the border now. Through that app, 900,000 since that app, they began to control the border. So we had a 900,000, 1,500 a day through Joe Biden's app. You better delete that app right away.
You say you better delete that
when
app.
you get in office January 20th.
Yeah, it could be delete that and delete TikTok. It could be a 1-2 punch. We should point out that what we were just showing you that happened in Aurora, Colorado. Colorado is a sanctuary state.
Of course it is.
Yes.
Well, and the news is this morning, over half of the migrants in the country illegally are in migrant cities and states. The number one migrant state is California. 22% of the migrants in the country illegally are there. And as for New York City, 6%
But
of
Ainsley,
all the illegal migrants
how much
are
credit
here in
does
New York.
Greg Abbott deserve? Because remember, the only reason why these cities are talking about this is because he started to bust them there.
right.
There was no, remember all the Democrat pundits that said, this is a stunt. The stunt worked because they felt what we felt in Texas for years.
Right. Well, Texas was paying the bills for all these illegals, and he's saying, y'all aren't seeing the problem. We are, and we're paying for it, and taxpayers are paying for it. So I'm going to start showing the problem to you all. We're going to share this. It shouldn't just be Texas. And once they started busing them into sanctuary cities, then people started losing their seats. Then blue cities started to be aware of what was happening.
And Fox and Friends and Fox News Channel, we were the first ones to show what was going on. And then eventually, when they started showing up at the Port Authority of New York, then suddenly it became a local story, became a national story, became the #2 issue of campaign.
And then our mayor here in New York, a Democrat, started saying, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't be a sanctuary city. We can't afford them.
First, he was setting up streamers. And, welcome, guys. I can't wait.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Go play in the playgrounds and have a good time.
Yeah, since
Look, everybody has their own opinions about immigration or whatever. But if you're going to come in here illegally, don't come. Okay? Don't just try to come here illegally. And then you come in here illegally, and guess what you do? You commit crimes. Country that harbored you, protected you, sheltered you, and you commit crimes against it. That's just sad, bad, stupid. You shouldn't do that. Like, you shouldn't do that. But anyway, thank you for tuning into the live show. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, man. What else do we have here? Elon Musk is saying to the Republican Party, do not pass this bill. Check this out. It's going wild right here.
Spending bill as being Christmas trees, but it's not an omnibus bill. That's one thing they did. They avoided the omnibus bill, but because they have such a slim majority in the House and they don't run the Senate and they don't have the White House, this spending bill that was just posted last night is going to be posted for 72 hours for people to examine.
That's the rule.
Yeah, it's about 1,500 pages, about $100 billion for disaster relief. You know, the series of natural disasters that hit the South, North Carolina especially. $30 billion in FEMA funding. They say they're out of money. $10 billion in economic assistance for farmers. You heard Speaker Johnson saying a lot of them are going to go under. A lot of it had to do with the policies they've been suffering under this administration. The SBA loans are out. They're going to be refunded as restrictions on outbound investment to China. 500 pages of health care provisions, which cut out the middleman that President Trump referred to a few days ago in his press conference, and calls for transparency of charges for key events and ticketing. That was a little controversy with Taylor Swift.
And a new stadium.
Look at those top three. So the speaker said that first one, it's $100 billion in disaster relief. We know all these hurricanes have come through. We saw what happened in North Carolina. They had to borrow all this money. They had to get loans from the banks to pay for this disaster relief to help our families that needed it. And so now that money has to be paid back. And the third one down, you see the $10 billion in economic assistance for our farmers. He said, that's all the food we eat. We have to help them out.
Right. And here's the thing. Republicans, a lot of conservative Republicans hate the fact that the government is going to spend so much money. It's a dire situation because our federal government runs out of money at midnight on Friday. And so essentially what they're going to do is they're going to pass this 90-day, they call it a patch, or it's kind of like a CR. Yeah. But what it's going to do is going to kick the can down to the middle of March. So Donald Trump will be installed as president, and then he'll be able to get a running start before they have another big argument over, the spending in Congress. Mr. Speaker, who was with us a little while ago, he's in trouble with a bunch of Republicans who he needs to have vote for him when he comes up for the speaker race. He was with us a little while ago. We talked to him about a tweet that Elon Musk posted just a little while ago. He's the one guy who could actually, out of his pocket, fund a lot of this stuff. Elon says this bill shall not pass. And the speaker then reacted live on Fox and Friends with this.
Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. And I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight. And he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. Everybody knows that. Remember, guys, we still have just a razor thin margin of Republicans. So any bill has to have Democrat votes. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda. That's what we're going to run with gusto beginning January 3rd when we start the new Congress, when Republicans, again, are in control. And all of our fiscal conservative friends, I'm one of them, will be able to finally do the things that we've been wanting to do for the last couple of years.
Elon may be an issue for the Republican Party at the end of the day because he might be to 40 people because these folks are like politicians, and this is just the facts. These folks are politicians and they know how to talk and pander like politicians panders. But Elon is not a politician. He's just a regular guy, rich as hell, but he may be going wild with this whole thing. Like, you guys can't do this. The people are not like this thing right here is not going to help the people. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do that. And then the Republican Party, like the people on top of the Republican Party, are going to be like, I don't know. And that's the case. That's just the facts. And this is what might happen. Elon may be 240 people for these folks. And that's just, look, just check it out. This is what is going 2025, 2026. It is on.
But the problem is, Brian, is, you know, people keep saying and the speaker even alluded to it, my conservative friends. That's normally the debate with the Freedom Caucus. It's like they're being pushed back. But it's not just the conservative parts of the caucus that's doing it. It's the moderates as well. I don't think I've witnessed a point when there was a CR or a resolution put on the floor where both the moderates and the conservatives both agree.
The only thing, Lawrence, I would say it's easier to sit on the sideline than when you finally realize, just sit down, roll your sleeves up, and say, I just wonder why they can't start working on this in September.
Yes.
Now, but I think part of it is we think we're going to win in November. You think you're going to win in November. Let's bet on each other. They bet on each other. The Democrats lose. So now they have a situation where now get me to January 20th. And now you're set till March. The losers are Africa, legislation to extend the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which in one way I could make a case for because China is making huge gains in Africa. Pharmacy benefit managers, they lost big on provisions to redirect spending on prescription drugs to healthcare plans and pharmaceutical companies. Trump called them the middlemen. They said they're making way too much money and they do way too little. And the losers are Maryland. You're about to lose the Redskins. But guess what? Your stadium sucks. And you should go right back to Washington, D.C.
So they're going to go back to the RFK Stadium site just to the east of the Capitol. Yeah. The only way Mike Johnson, the Republican, will be able to pass this is he's going to need dozens of Democrats to actually vote with him, and he'll probably get them. But I'll tell you what, when I think about the fact that Elon Musk tweeted, this bill should not pass, you know what? I haven't really heard from the President of the United States about this particular issue.
Yeah. President or President-elect?
The President-elect. We haven't heard from Donald Trump exactly. I mean, if Elon Musk is saying, don't do it, what's Donald Trump saying?
If they don't do it, the government shuts down. He's just saying, is Elon saying, let the government shut down then?
He's got the
I think the president-elect should stay out of it. I don't think he should get involved. He should wait until he's into power. But I feel like we continue to lose as a country. Maybe I'm a traditionalist, but the fact that we don't have the 12 appropriations bills out there to set up a budget to do this, like go through the process. Brian is talking about them waiting to the end. It's because they don't pass the bills. They don't go through the regular order process. So each people can debate which line items they submitted, and then we get a final budget put together at the very end. They just continue to put everything on one.
Well, when Republicans are,
one slide,
when they are over the House and the Senate starting in January, then they need to start working on the bill. If this is probably going to pass. This is probably going to pass. I don't think ever in my time on Fox and Friends we've had this discussion over and over that midnight. That's the deadline.
The government has shut down.
That's been shut down.
When did it shut down? When did it? How many years ago? Because I don't remember.
Days,
for it.
Remember?
Right,
remember
when
they
he
shut
did
down during
the filibuster,
Obama.
And how was it resolved? Just in a few days, they fixed it?
They got a bill.
Government employees didn't get paid during that period
Just
of time.
essential personnel.
Certain things were closed down. People still got their Social Security checks. Medicare still worked, but it ground the government to a halt. And the Republican Party ultimately paid for it.
I guarantee they'll pass
in the
it. They
next
want to go
election.
home for Christmas. They don't want to have to stay there
Well, that's why
through
they
Christmas.
do it that way.
Right,
Absolutely.
but the thing is, President, he said to me, I've been in constant contact with President Trump, so nothing should be surprising the president-elect.
Right, but if Elon Musk is saying don't do it, is that a message from Donald Trump?
Well, the thing is that, look, the president-elect and Elon Musk obviously have a close relationship, but he doesn't do everything that Elon Musk suggested. I mean, there's been a lot of cabinet picks as well. I think Elon is coming from the standpoint, he's going to be running that commission with Doge, and he's saying this is not a great start.
He almost has to say that.
Right.
He's trying to cut, and this is going against exactly. This is adding $1 billion. Is that what the congressman said? Was it $1 billion to the deficit?
It's a gigantic number.
Yeah, hold on, I have.
I'm telling you guys, Elon and Vivek, of course, Department of Government Efficiency, these guys just want to cut costs. They want to cut costs. They want to make sure that the cost of doing business in the United States is down, bring down the overhead, and make sure everybody's Gucci. That's what they're trying to do. That's all they're trying to do, because these guys are successful businessmen. Now, most people are going to say, well, these guys are billionaires. What do you think? You think they're going to help you? Do you think that they're thinking about you? Yes. Okay. Yes. Because who are the people who buys their product? Elon Musk started Tesla, right? So if he sells Tesla as a product and the people cannot afford to buy Tesla, what do you think? You have to help the people that are buying your product. And that's what he's trying to do. Same thing with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's into pharmaceuticals. And if you cannot afford to buy product, then of course, these companies are just going to tank. And it's like people think some companies are so huge, too large that they cannot fail. Huge companies actually fail. If you go check your history, huge companies can fail. Okay? It's just what it is.
Now, the rush to kiss Trump's ring is on. So writes Politico. Big tech to liberal media hosts and world leaders have been lining up to meet with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Tech titans are pouring millions of dollars into his inauguration. Foreign leaders seeking to curry his favor with phone calls and photo ops. Liberal newscasters rushing to Mar-a-Lago to mend those real tall fences after comparing him to Nazis. The recent embrace of the president-elect is a scene that would have seemed unimaginable 4 years ago. It's a dynamic, though, that Trump himself pointed out. Watch.
The biggest difference is that people want to get along with me this time. Well, they've gone through 4 years, and, it wasn't easy for me, but it wasn't easy for them either. And that's a great thing, though. Getting along is a great thing. One of the big differences between the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something. We have a lot of great executives coming in. The top executives, the top bankers, they're all calling. And honestly, in the first time, I don't know what it was. It's like a complete opposite.
A complete opposite, Ben Ferguson. Tell us, what do you think changed?
Well, one, I'm cautiously optimistic because I think, we talk about this, they're immediately going to be working against him every chance they can on Capitol Hill. I do think the business community is very different now because they realize that he's in charge, he has a mandate, he's coming in with the people around him that are actually going to not work against him, they're going to be working for him, and they're going to get stuff done. And so I think they understand now, okay, we can't treat him the way we treated him when they were trying to impeach him in 2016, when the government was working against him. He's got a mandate, and he has a cabinet that's going to be lockstep with him. And so it's dangerous if you go to war with him now. This is going to be really fun for the country because I think the voters also, there's a mandate from them to do what Donald Trump said he was going to do. There's not a division in this country like everybody wanted it to be. And so the radicals on the left, get ready because it's about to be really fun for us. And it's going to be fun to watch how quickly they get things done. I think Dodge is a great example of that, like how they're literally saying, we're going to come in, and the American people are tired of our tax dollars just being squandered. The wall is going to be another fight. You see him right now fighting over that. This is going to be a fun day for Donald Trump. And I actually will say this. I think it's a blessing Trump didn't win re-election in 2020 because now he understands what.
This is what I said. I said, thank God the OG didn't come as the 46th as well. Because if he did, then people wouldn't know the difference. Now he lost in 2020. Now he's back in 2024. This is the difference. This is the winning factor for Trump. Because now people are going to say, you know what? This last 4 years has been total hellhole for everybody. We've seen the prices of everything. We've seen the inflation. We've seen the border. We've seen foreign policies. We've seen wars that were not existing before. Now it's going on. Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestinian people, Iran. We're seeing these things that we didn't see from 2016 to 2021. So now it's like, okay, maybe, just maybe, this man is like the real deal. And that's why people voted for him to be the 47th. And it's just facts.
He needs to do. I think he's going to have in an 8-year area, like what it would have taken him 8 years to do in 4 years. It's going to be amazing.
All right, so Lisa, do you agree with that? Is this sort of an impenetrable wall that he represents? Is there still going to be subterfuge? I'm worried about that, though. That's the thing. It worries me more, the snakes that have a sheep's face on, a mask, if you will. That worries me more than those that came out straight away. Or have they resigned themselves to the American mandate that indeed this is what America wants and what they need?
Probably a little bit of both. Look, I think that, Donald Trump has said that success will unite the country. I think winning did as well. Having the popular vote behind him has helped, this movement create. I agree with Ben that, he's going to be more successful this term than he would have been in 2020. Also, you look at how they were trying to drive away people from wanting to work for Donald Trump in 2020, and now look at the people he's surrounding himself with. Look at these business leaders going to Mar-a-Lago, kissing the ring. Now, some of it is they want something from him, right? They're trying to protect themselves from the terrorists, or if you're Mark Zuckerberg, you're potentially engaged in some censorship that he's been accused of. You might want to be trying to get ahead of that as well. But if Donald Trump was as successful as he was during the first term with the amount of resistance he faced, both internally from the deep state, the investigations, the special counsel, the impeachment, all the things, think about how he's going to be successful now that the wind is against his back. Now that he has all these business leaders on board, now that he's surrounded with all these smart people. So I am so optimistic about the next 4 years. I think that this is going to be some of the best 4 years we've ever seen in the country.
I know, I'm totally excited. Okay, so Carly, talk to me, though, about the media. So we know Morning Joe went up. Like what does this portend for that? Are we going to be subjected to just a media that is out to lunch and intent on bringing down our rightfully elected president-elect? Or do you think that we'll see actual fair coverage?
Well, this is definitely the honeymoon period, and I don't even think we're seeing fair coverage now, although, Mika and Joe went to meet with him, but only time will tell on that. I think that probably could go downhill from there, just given the past being prologue. But I think the most stunning evolution that we're seeing right now has to do with Silicon Valley. I mean, if you think back to 2016 and all of the tech executives who held those company-wide meetings and openly wept and talked about safe spaces when Donald Trump won the first time around, and then in 2020 he got kicked off of all the social media platforms. And now those very same people who had held such disdain for him are.
And this is what I said in 2020/2021. This guy was taken down, banned from Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, now X. Banned from Facebook, banned from Instagram, banned from all social media. He had to start his own social media called Truth Social. Can you imagine what you must have been through to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm just going to start my own social media platform? They took him down, banned him. He started his own social platform. Now everybody wants to kiss the ring. Everybody wants to kiss the ring now. It's like, wait, you banned me in 2020. Mark Zuckerberg, you banned me, bro. You banned me in 2020. You banned me on your Facebook, your great Facebook. You banned me on Instagram. And of course, Jack Dorsey banned him on Twitter. Now Elon owns X because he bought it. Because Jack Dorsey banned Trump. That's the sole reason why this guy bought formerly Twitter, now X. That's the whole reason Elon bought X. Elon Musk bought X because Trump was banned from Twitter. That's like facts. If you go find out, you would realize that's it.
Now asking him to dinner and donating $1 million to his inauguration fund. It is just so rich. And I think the reason for this is very simple. The last 4 years have not been successful. And Donald Trump didn't just win the Electoral College. He also won the popular vote, which I think has major influence on how world leaders are viewing him right now. And when it comes to business leaders here at home, they have for years been saying behind closed doors, you know, Donald Trump isn't as bad as we're making him out to seem. He wants to cut regulation, cut taxes. He's actually good for business. Now they are saying it out loud. So it took 10 years of political ostracization, 4 or 5 years of being called a threat to democracy, and 2 assassination attempts. And he finally does have the wind at his back going into his second term.
And a partridge in a pear tree. I want to focus on for a second, Harris, the Silicon Valley point that Carly made, because we know, remember, that Google had a presence, a lobbying effort in the Biden administration. It was over 500% compared to any other lobbyist. We know that Kamala Harris enjoyed more donations from Silicon Valley than any other candidate before. So the question is, does Silicon Valley just sort of focus in on whoever's in power, or do you feel that they align themselves with what Trump represents?
Real quickly, Silicon Valley has shareholders too. So they have accountability for the money that they spent in all the ways that you said politically, and then it just embarrassingly did not work out for anybody that they backed pretty much across the board, because Republicans won the White House, the House, and the Senate. So, but I want to pick up on something that you said, Ben, and that is that, well, it's almost better that he won in 2016 and now 2024. I'm hearing that more and more, and I think the reason is this. Democrats needed to see what the truth was about the people at the highest levels of their party.
Yes.
And you've heard talk just recently about, hey, this is Trump's party, meaning the Republicans. But Democrats are going to be reshaped as well. They cannot go forth and just lie to people and just try to convince them that Bidenomics worked when it didn't, try to convince them that what they're feeling in Chicago with a city that's built, spent north of $500 million, not on its citizens, but on illegals, that's not impactful too. Like, it can't just operate business as usual as a party. And you will see these Democrats around Trump. Plus, he picked one for a cabinet member. He picked a Democrat, RFK Jr. A Kennedy. So it is interesting. This time around, he may have the potential for even greater change. And you're right, he's going to have to do it quickly, but he's got a running start.
Even Mitt Romney said, this is now the party of Donald Trump.
That's right.
That's like a heck freezing over moment. When Mitt Romney walks out, like, look, it's the party of MAGA. Like, that is huge, and it tells you the mindset in D.C. right now, which is, you better get on board or you're going to get run over by Donald Trump.
And Trump's shaping the other side of the aisle.
And real quick, a lot of these lies have been exposed, right? You know, if Donald Trump's Hitler, if he's all these terrible things he's been called, you wouldn't have all these people going to Mar-a-Lago and kissing the ring. But also think about how evil that is to tell those lies to the American people, to sow that kind of division for, political gain, only to lose. Thank God.
All right, Larry Kudlow's chomping at the bit to respond to that. He is here, host of Kudlow on Fox Business. Go ahead. You were sitting here and you were saying he's in his element. The way he's negotiating on the world stage in real time.
He is in his element, hitting his stride. Look, this is one of the most remarkable honeymoon periods, really. And I just missed Grover Cleveland's second transition. I know John Roberts missed the thing. I was a little late on that. I was a McKinley guy myself. That came later. But in all seriousness, Mr. Trump, you could see him at the news conference yesterday, at ease. Moderate demeanor, answering all the questions. I just pulled
the sound of the moment that you and I just discussed. He was asked about the CEOs who appear to be knocking on his door now that ignored him in his first term. Listen.
In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something.
I shouldn't have said ignore. They were going after him. Now they're knocking on his door and saying they want to meet with him.
One of the biggest things, I don't know that he's had a personality change, frankly. Some things have changed after taking a bullet during this campaign, that awful assassination attempt. But I think what also changes, he won the popular vote, and he won all 7 of the swing states. And there was no hassle, finally, with the election outcome, okay? And then there was no Russia hoax, and the intelligence community and the FBI and the deep state, they're now running scared because he's going to be replacing them, and he's putting in great people like John Radcliffe and Kash Patel. So all these things have changed. The entire political story has changed. He himself is at ease, and it's very cool to watch. He's answering every question. All right. Now, you're going to ask me about TikTok, which is not one that he answered with any great specificity. But basically, in general terms, he talked about international affairs. He talked about what's going to happen to Hamas or Iran, or what he wants to do with Russia and Ukraine, or what he wants to do at the border. He sort of made a little joke about Justin Trudeau, who may not be the 51st state because it's going to be out pretty soon. He's going to lose his whole majority up in Canada. But all these things, Mr. Trump is handling them easily. He made some we won't get to it here, but he made some very important discussions about trade reciprocity, how he views his trade strategy, which is something I've known for quite some time. But he explained it beautifully.
Yeah, just want to put this up as you were talking about his wildly popular honeymoon. This is your New York Sun column. It's nice to have a president who can stand up at a press conference with a full grasp of policy. And you can expect, based on the solo press conferences that he gave as president, which was 44, Biden stands at 14 so far, that we will see and hear a lot from him over the next 4 years.
It's a leader. It's a key leadership characteristic. No teleprompter, no canned answers, no memorized stuff. He engages people back and forth. He engages with his guests, what he did with the Japanese investor. He'll engage with the press. He'll make statements. He'll say, well, okay, but we're going to take a look at this and that. It just projects American strength for a change, right? We all want this.
Just real quick before you go. What's with the stock? What's with the stock?
I should ask
we
you
never want you to leave.
Oh, I don't want to leave.
Fine, TikTok. I give you 10 seconds. Should he ban it or not? Where do you stand?
My view is he should ban it. That was his original position. Now, he enjoys.
No, I don't think it should be banning TikTok, man, because people are saying what he campaigned and he had his videos on TikTok. Don't forget now, Republicans, don't forget you used TikTok to sort of kind of win the election. So don't be banning TikTok and be thinking you're too big for too cool for school. Too cool for school. Don't be banning TikTok. What you can do is you can see what's going on and let this Singapore guy, the founder or CEO of TikTok, sell it to an American guy. Okay, rather than just banning TikTok. I mean, look, people are saying it's a national emergency or national security issue. Could be, because they're getting your information, but people are doing a lot of business on TikTok. Millions of people are doing a lot of business on TikTok. And if TikTok get banned, it is going to be wild, because a lot of people are selling on TikTok, streaming on TikTok, making money on TikTok. So what, by the time they ban TikTok, what is going to happen to those people? Are you going to pay them? Or are you going to find some other platform for them to go on? Like, I guess they're going to have to come on YouTube or maybe Facebook or Instagram. I don't know. But I don't think Trump should allow TikTok should be banned. He should work with TikTok CEO and say, you know what? Let's work this deal. Sell it to someone here in the United States. Or let's sell the algorithm to someone in the United States. And we're going to let you chill. Okay, you could get a little, get a big chunk of the price, but it has to be an American who controls it. But according to the news on the street, TikTok pays more than any platform. So they're saying it's TikTok, then YouTube, then Twitch, then everybody else follows. But is that going to change for people who earn on TikTok? If people who earn on TikTok are going to get like a slash on their payment or on their income on TikTok if an American owns it, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I don't think TikTok should be banned. Let me know what you think in the comment.
support from the TikTok subscribers.
Yes.
I get that,
Yes.
okay, and it helped them in the campaign. I understand that. But the problem is that the evidence strongly suggests that TikTok is a Chinese spy operation, okay? And we tried to sell TikTok to an American company back in 2020. The clock ran out, obviously.
So you're for the ban?
I'm for the ban. I'd love to, look, you can't sell ByteDance just selling it. You have to change the software infrastructure, the so-called algorithms that would keep the Chinese Communist Party from absorbing all of the personal information that's built up in TikTok.
Could be an impossible task.
It is. It's very difficult. And the president knows that. And that's why I don't think he wants to make a final definitive. He may try to sell it. He may bring in, we looked at Oracle, we looked at Microsoft. There are other firms that might want it. TikTok is a fabulous operation for the kids who are using it, but it's not fabulous in terms of international affairs and the Chinese spy operation.
Till next time, Larry Kudlow. We'll see you at 4 o'clock on FBN. Thank you very much, sir.
I'm just hanging out here.
We woke him up to come in today.
Got it.
Thanks, Larry. All right, John.
And former Chief Counsel to Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist, Alex Vogel. Alex is also the Vogel Group founder and CEO. I'd love to talk about drones, but we got some other things that we have to talk about. So tech leaders lining up at Mar-a-Lago to get close to Trump, it would seem. Here's what Jerry Baker wrote in the Wall Street Journal. Trump is back, this time without disdain. They have all been forming an orderly, respectful line to bend the knee, kiss the ring, and then slip the big check. It's like Game of Thrones, only with money attached to it. What's going on, Alex?
Look, a couple of things. Number one, the first time, I don't think a lot of these folks knew what to expect or how to engage with him, and they were being fed a constant drumbeat about him that wasn't exactly favorable. This time, I think they're, number one, genuinely excited from an economic perspective about what he wants to unleash and their role in it. And he's now super engaged with people in that community, whether it's Elon, his work around crypto. So I think they are genuinely excited. And look, everyone loves a winner and wants to be on the team and engaged.
And Trump seems to be genuinely astounded by the reaction. Listen to what he said yesterday.
I did have dinner with Tim Cook. I had dinner with sort of almost all of them, and the rest are coming. One of the big differences between the first term, in the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something.
So, Juan, what's going on? Is this hangover from 4 years of Biden? Is this Trump saying the right things? Or, door number 3, did his personality change?
I think it's a lot to do with fear. That he might. Yeah, I think there's worry about regulation. There's a lot that is to be done in this country.
But he wants to cut regulation.
Well, the question is, will there be who gets regulated and under what conditions, and also competition with Elon Musk, who is sitting right by him and who is a big tech guy. And of course, for people like Jeff Bezos, as well as Tim Cook and others, they see that as competition. But I just see this as sort of business smarts. Not politics. I mean, there's shareholder value in having a relationship with the incoming president, given concern about possible regulation or changes in laws that might be promulgated by a Republican majority in the Congress. So I think that for those reasons, it's just smart for them to say on a transactional basis that we have input with this president. And goodness gracious, $1 million donation, that's like couch money for these guys.
Yeah, well, that's true. It is. Hey, I want to ask you quickly, we just got a minute left. Apparently, Kamala Harris is maybe making some noise about throwing her hat in the ring in 2028. Good idea? Bad idea?
Look, I'm not going to give the Democrats any electoral advice. I don't think they'd take it from me. But given how things just went, she just lost the popular vote for the first time in a long time. Hey, if that's what they think the best answer is, bring it on. I think between now and the next election, there's going to be other voices that are going to make a compelling argument.
Why do you want to see a return of Kamala?
It's fine with me. I didn't think she ran a bad race. I just don't think that right now there's any reason to see her as the leading candidate for that nomination. You've got people out there from Gretchen Whitmer to the governor of California.
Yeah, so there's a lot of choices. We'll see. Well, 4 years is a long time, but then again, it goes by pretty quickly. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, look who's popular now. 8 years after stepping off that golden escalator and facing resistance at every turn, President-elect Trump is the talk of the town. Foreign leaders and tech CEOs are all scrambling to get a seat at Mar-a-Lago. Big names like Tim Cook, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos have either met with or will be meeting with the president-elect about his second term. And even Trump himself seems surprised by the positive reaction.
I had dinner with sort of almost all of them, and the rest are coming. And this is one of the big differences, I think, between, we were talking about it before, one of the big differences between the first term. In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something.
There's a good reason why President-elect Trump is resonating with so many in the business community. At his core, the guy knows how to work a room. Even Stephanie Ruhle is giving him props for being more approachable than Joe and Kamala.
I called him and said, I want an interview with you. Obviously, he said no. But my point is, I was able to get to him by dialing his phone. If I were to want to connect with VP Harris or President Biden, there's 50 people between me and that. I could write a note that maybe could get to somebody, then through Pony Express and a pigeon, something might end up in a mailbox near them. And I called DJT to say, yo, can I have an interview? He told me to go myself, but I still was able to connect with him.
All right, Dana, you know, yesterday, I think I either said or asked the question, you know, is that a change in Donald Trump or is a change in America? But I think maybe it lies more in the past 4 years and having lived through the Biden years and his disastrous policies. Which do you think it is?
I think it's a little bit of everything, but in particular, when people, so Joe Biden gets elected by saying, I'm going to return things to normal. I'm going to calm everything down. And then he got into office and with his chief of staff, Ron Klain, decided to take every squad member position and move the country so far to the left that they couldn't tack back. And then they started the lies. There's the Afghanistan withdrawal, et cetera. So 4 years of that was like enough. Before Ronald Reagan ran for president, well, back when he was thinking about running for president, maybe he even had his hat in the primary, people said Reagan's crazy. Then Jimmy Carter became president. And after 4 years, people were like, we would like Reagan, please. And then they started the Reagan Revolution. And an interesting thing about the tech CEOs is this time you don't have the boards of directors or the shareholders saying a word. There's no negativity and no blowback from their customers or their shareholders or their boards. And in fact, there might even be some encouragement. The last thing I'd say is there's something to be said about conversation. And
the fact is, everybody wants to be on Trump's good side, okay? He won. He's the president of the United States next month. He's currently the 47th president-elect. So everybody wants to be a part of the process. Everybody wants to win big with this guy. Everybody wants him to cut or deregulate whatever they are trying to deregulate, because regulation is like destroying these big tech companies, and they want to deregulate so many things. So it's like, yo, we're just gonna kiss the ring, okay? We're gonna kiss the ring because we know for a fact that this guy is a businessman. He wants profit and he wants these companies to thrive. And it's funny how he's for the companies and these companies are not for him. How can he be for the company and these companies are not for him? And it's just like bunkers. But it is what it is. Life is life, okay? You know what I say? The truth is bitter. The people that you want to do good things for are sometimes the people that are trying to hurt you. And that's what is happening to Trump. He has been trying to, help these companies for years. He's been trying to deregulate so many things for them for years. And yet they're the same people banned him from their platform. Facebook, okay. What's his name? Jack Dorsey back then in Twitter banned him. So, of course, they're going to want to meet with him, have dinner with him, try to lobby him and try to pander to him and try to, get their agenda through. Now, every one of them, OpenAI, Sam Altman, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. Who else? What's his name? The TikTok guy. Every one of them wants to donate to his campaign fund. Now, even Amazon, Jeff Bezos is donating $1 million. Every one of them are donating $1 million each. It's like, wait, what happened? Why are you guys donating $1 million all of a sudden? Because everybody's trying to kiss the ring and everybody wants to be on his good side. Because everybody has seen that Elon Musk has doubled his net worth or whatever. But it's not like well, I don't know if he did it intentionally and if he knew this whole thing was going to work out for him. However, it's like it worked out for him. At the same time, it made the country a better place because he bought X and X was losing money. Like X was losing a lot of money. So it's like, if you think about it, it's like everybody wants to be the next Elon. Elon is so wealthy. He's so rich financially that if you combine Jeff Bezos and you combine, what's his name, the Microsoft guy, both of them together, they're not as rich as Bill Gates. So Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, both of them combined together, they're not as rich as Elon Musk. Isn't that just wild? And Elon Musk was like nowhere to be found 10 years ago. Now, Elon Musk is wealthier than both of them financially combined together. Can you think about that? Like nobody thought anybody would be as rich as Bill Gates. And nobody thought anybody would be as rich as Jeff Bezos. Now combined together, they're not up to Elon. That's wild.
Power to convene. That's one of the best powers that a president has and the cabinet will have is let's get together, let's talk. And there's power in conversation. That's what we do. This is one of the reasons this show is so successful for 14 years, because we can have a conversation, talk about ideas, go, oh, on the one hand, on the other, oh, actually, I hadn't thought about it that way. Interesting. But meeting somebody and just being able to break bread together, this is a way that you can end or at least mend some of the bad relationships and help polarization in the country.
You know, Jesse, do we see, big text change of heart in terms, I mean, think of what they did. I mean, not just in terms of the 2020 election and shutting down all social media, but they were heavily invested in making sure that Donald Trump didn't win, calling him a racist. And so is this change of heart about business or politics?
It's probably both. The best story. So remember when Zuckerberg canceled Trump off Facebook after January 6th? Yep. Well, he invites him down to Mar-a-Lago for dinner. He begs to come for dinner. And he brings in the January 6th choir. And the January 6th choir sings the anthem. And Zuckerberg has to stand with his hand to his heart while the January 6th choir sings the national anthem. And it's a long time from 4 years ago, Judge. You either have to get on board or you're going to get tied down to the tracks.
Absolutely.
The first election was a shocking win. This was a commanding win. And we had a guest on last night and said some brilliant stuff, and I'm just going to repackage it.
Love that.
Trump is so unique. Here's why. He's wealthy, so you can't bribe him.
Yep.
He's handsome, and so you can't honey trap him. You know, he's been around models his whole life. And he's also a celebrity, so you can't influence him with A-listers. He's not awestruck. He's not starstruck. So the only way you can really charm him is by investing in America. And we look back at some of the donations from some of these inaugurations. They give a couple pennies. It's usually a couple $100,000, and no one makes a thing out of it. Now it's like press release, Amazon's donating $1 million. This company's donating $1 million. Everybody wants to get on board, and you're right, Dana. He's so much more commercially viable now because think about the dark cloud of January 6th, the Fine People hoax, Russia. Now no one cares. Everybody wants to get in on this. Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, Democrat, was trying to get a picture taken with Trump at Army Navy and was waiting outside the suite. It was locked. He had to stand out in the hallway, and he got his picture taken. And now these donors, Reed Hastings, Netflix, are making a pilgrimage to the patio in Mar-a-Lago. And the Democratic Party can't do anything about it. So when Kamala Harris says we got to fight, all of her donors are at Mar-a-Lago trying to get along.
Yo, all of our donors.
Doesn't this sudden change of heart prove that when the left said that Trump was racist and that he was Hitler, that even they didn't believe it?
It's being capped.
Well, good to be back with you. I always said that people shouldn't be calling people Hitler and fascist, but we should all take a step back. This is a time-honored tradition when you have a president elected that business leaders, be they Democrat or Republican,
Didn't happen in 2016.
Well, it happened in 2012. It happened in 2008. It happened in 2004. I hear you, but I'm just saying this is not. I understand the purpose of your question, what you're trying to get at, but this happens with business leaders, and we should all think it's a great thing. because the thing that is driving and fueling our economy and driving all of this growth, a lot of these men and women who are going to see the president, Ted Sarandos is one from Netflix, he and Reed are co-heads of the company, they're going down because of AI revolution concerns, growth and antitrust concerns. Everyone has interest here. And it's great to see. I thought Stephanie Ruhle said it well, and Democrats had to take a lesson from this. Yep. It's the axis of access and answers versus evasion and elitism. We've gotten to a point in our party, she was right, you couldn't reach anybody without going through 20 people, and you hope the 30th person could get you a call back. The fact that the president is taking these calls, taking these meetings, whether he agrees or disagrees, it lets everyone know what the rules are on the playing field. And if you know what the rules are, you can succeed, whether it's Tim Cook, whether it's Mark Zuckerberg, whether it's Ted Sarandos, whomever it may be. And for that matter, I even think that the president's trying to figure out what his answer is going to be on TikTok. I think his answer there is a critical one. And if he's lining up some of these guys to perhaps buy TikTok from ByteDance, it'd be a great thing for the country. And as the president said yesterday, he got such a big lead with young people. I'm sure he would like it as well if TikTok was sold to an American company.
That's right. He did very well on TikTok. He told us that yesterday.
He did indeed.
All right, Brian. Think of how much Donald Trump was able to get done during his first term, in spite of the impeachment and the protests and the riots and the hate and all that. This really can be a golden age for America.
It can. It seems like everyone's on the same page because what he's saying is not Republican ideas. It's not like, oh, here's my conservative agenda. He goes, here's the Trump agenda for the country. And that's why he's blurring the line and making it hard to fight. And I think that's got the Democrats a little off balance. So I asked one of the Trump officials, what are they asking? What's going on at dinner? Like, do they just come down and they just have a good time? And he says, first they make amends. They look at the former relationships. Then they pitch them on their plans. And then he says, they all say, this is how we're going to invest in America and hire American workers. And what they love is that promise of 15% tax rate if we do just that, make our products here. I also think we should go to the next level and allow our first-round draft picks, immigrants that are going to college here. I think part of immigration could be letting them stay because we need these workers. Steve Jobs talked about it before he died in Apple. He goes, I can't bring the manufacturing back here. We don't have enough engineers. So if we're training them, why are we sending them back to India and China? Let's keep them here. So I don't think there's any problem with that. And I would say this to Mark Zuckerberg, especially, and Sergey Brin, and that unpronounceable name Pinchot over at Google. You want to prove to me that you want to prove to me that you are into it now? You're going to be pro-American? Do what Elon Musk did. Let Matt Taibbi, let Barry Weiss, and let Michael Schellenberger go into your Facebook files the way they went into the Twitter files and talk about what exactly you did in 2020 and during the pandemic to.
And that's facts. That's facts. So if you're going to say you are for the people right now and you support the agenda of the 47th president of the United States, then you're going to have to go back into 2020 and say, you know what, maybe, just maybe I effed up in 2020. Okay. We effed up in 2020 and we are now planning to do right by the people. This is what we did in 2020 and this is how to fix it. That's the only way. That's the only way. Okay, that's just the only way. And that's it. And what is going on with Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi? Did you guys hear about that? Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden going at it.
The Democratic Party is in full-blown self-destruction mode. President Biden is taking the gloves off in his long-standing feud with Nancy Pelosi after she led the coup to push him off the ticket. So Joe is getting his sweet revenge by pushing a ban on her favorite hobby.
I don't know how you look your constituents in the eye and know because the job they gave you an inside track to make more money. I think we should be changing the law that we have to, but we abide by at the federal level, that nobody in the Congress should be able to make money in the stock market while they're in the Congress.
Nancy also has.
And everybody knows Nancy Pelosi is definitely one of the wealthiest in Congress when it comes to making money off the market. Like people actually go buy what she buys, exactly what she buys after she buys it because they know she knows something. And that's just crazy.
Mitts in another big Democrat dust-up. AOC just lost her bid to helm the powerful House Oversight Committee to a Pelosi-backed Congressman, Jerry Connolly of Virginia. Watch this.
I ran the best race that I could, and I think to all of our folks at home that are watching, I just want to thank everyone so much for their support inside the caucus and outside, and I'm ready to move forward and protect our communities and fight for working people.
The liberal media erupting over the optics of a 35-year-old losing to a 74-year-old.
Those are the disruptive voices that I think the party needs to concede, retire, enjoy the rest of your life.
What is about
and
this?
let them be
This
leadership.
gerontocracy seems like it's intractable.
Pelosi whipped votes to make sure that Connolly got the oversight job over the young star in the party, even as the 84-year-old Pelosi is recovering from hip surgery after suffering a fall. It feels like a moment of genuine madness.
You know, isn't it ironic, Jesse, that the media who bashed us for going after Joe Biden because of his age now all of a sudden is saying that Pelosi is too old and that Connolly is too old?
I'm not an ageist, but she earned it. AOC earned it, Judge. She stopped primarying people out of spite. She was a great surrogate for Joe Biden. She was lying through her teeth the whole time, but she did the job as a good foot soldier. And she's been an understudy to Raskin. She's, paid her dues. And you're going to have Connolly be the face of oversight during the Trump era? Mm-hmm. You need someone sharp, someone who can stay on their toes and telegenic to be the face of the resistance. And I would have given it to her. And I don't even know Connolly. I'm sure he's a great guy, but whatever. Joe Biden has not even called Nancy after she cracked her hip open. They haven't spoken since the coup. You'd think Joe would have gotten on the phone, hey, Nance, I'm sorry about your hip. Hope you feel better. Instead, he doesn't call her. He calls her a crook. Basically says, we're going to tie your hands so you can't get rich with Pauly P with your pillow talk anymore. But the most ironic thing is you can't have a job where you can profit from your service. Mm-hmm. Really, Joe?
Right.
Because that's exactly what it
is. Especially if you're like in public servant position, like in the government. You're supposed to be serving the people, serving the public. It's like, why are you using your ways, your information to sort of kind of get ahead in life? That's just why. Like, if you're in the government, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, you should not be doing that.
family did.
You know what's amazing about this, Dana, is that Joe Biden has been in Washington for a half a century. And all of a sudden, he's worried about people like Pelosi having the inside track. The truth is that this is purely personal. This is his trying to take Pelosi down. And, maybe she deserves it. I mean, she's got stocks, 65% return on her stocks.
Yeah, I mean, hello. Can we call your team of financial advisors?
Yeah, my
That's
team's not at 65%.
So Pelosi, this is interesting because she even defended the Hunter Biden pardon.
Yep.
When she was asked last week or the week before, do you support that? And she said, I support my president. Yes. So that is pretty interesting to me. She's saying, Joe, I'm trying to have an olive branch here, and that is not happening. In 2011 or 2012, Congress did pass a bipartisan bill to deal with the Stock Act thing. And so in some ways, it feels like Joe Biden is basically just decided to stomp on our head and rub his heel on our head. I do think it's interesting to watch Joe Biden's last days in office because he's doing very, very little, doing everything very, very safe. He's never once had to answer yet about the Hunter pardon. He went to Delaware yesterday. Yesterday was Tuesday. Christmas is next Tuesday. And you probably won't hear from him. But I just don't think he's going to be doing much at all. So anything that he's doing is very intentional. So he wanted to say that about Nancy Pelosi. It was about his legacy. He knew he wasn't going to get asked about the Hunter Biden pardon. On AOC, I think Nancy Pelosi got this one exactly right, read the room. She might have earned it. She is not ready. She's got to find her strong voice before she can be the head of oversight.
Does she have a weak voice
in the
now?
Trump era? Yes.
Up talking is not going to work.
You know, Jessica, I think part of this Nancy Pelosi thing is about AOC partnering up, I think it was in 2023 with Matt Gaetz to get a Stock Act passed. And so Pelosi wouldn't want AOC in that position. And Pelosi can control Connolly because she whipped the votes for him. AOC was willing to go along with Matt Gaetz to stop this corruption that's going on in Congress.
Well, there's definitely a clear move to protect the old guard, right, of the Democratic Party, even if people like Clyburn and Pelosi are being pushed out of their top seats and allowing quote unquote successors. They're still around giving interviews constantly and wielding a tremendous amount of power. And to her mind, Connolly has earned it over those years. He's 74, 75 years old. He's put in a lot of time there. He's a very competent and very good legislator. But for people who are on the other side of this, who think that it is time for someone like an AOC as the head of a powerful committee, they are looking at the results of the 2024 election and saying we have to do something different, right? We have been losing key constituencies in this. It wasn't like we were taking a flyer saying like, oh, let's hope and dream that we'll get, you know, new people in our coalition that we shouldn't have had before. We lost working class voters, which is the core Democratic base. And AOC, if you watched her at the DNC, which we all did, gave one of the best speeches of that entire conference. And she was the one who nailed that tone. She's the one who can talk about going from being
This same thing they do. Best speeches. She gave the best speeches. Nobody cares about your best speeches, okay? Obama gave flawless speeches during the DNC when Kamala was running. Michelle gave flawless speeches. They all give flawless speeches, okay? But Americans are tired of speeches. Nobody cares about your speech, okay? Nobody cares. Okay, nobody cares about speeches anymore. It's action. Oh, AOC gave great speeches. Man, who cares, bro?
a bartender to being in Congress. And I found it really interesting that Pat Ryan, who's the Democratic congressman from the 18th here in New York, it's a bellwether district that he won by over 10 points. And he spoke on behalf of AOC. And he said, this is purely about my strong conviction that we must do two things. One, aggressively and strategically counter Trump. Two, we need to effing win. And AOC has the attitude of a winner. She will.
Oh my goodness. AOC, they're going to bring AOC out in 2028 and she's going to lead the Republican Party as the Democratic presidential nominee, and it's going to be a disaster. But of course, Gavin Newsom is never going to let that happen because he's going to fight his way to the front line. I would say if they put forth Josh Shapiro or Fetterman, they may have a chance. But if they put forth AOC, oh man, they're going to be in the back seat.
Leave it all on the field. She is a great communicator. I think she has matured a lot in the last few years, certainly coming from, you know, being a prime squad member to saying I'm not going to primary people. I want to work with my coalition as much as I possibly can. And if you have people like Pat Ryan supporting her, I think that that says something about what the next generation of Democrats are feeling.
Okay, so Tyrus, do you think she's as fabulous as Jessica does?
Unless the AOC is who I still think it is, right?
Yes.
The one who ran off Amazon, the one who bounce dances when she talks. How much legislation has she passed while she's been in the House?
Yeah.
How many laws? 0. She shows up for more dances and dinners than actually does work. So, no, she is part of the squad. She is part of the biggest
part of the
L.
squad.
She's the reason for the mandate. So, no, she shouldn't be in charge of anything. You're not even doing what you need to do at home, but that's besides the point. We need to stop saying, like, Joe's getting revenge. No. This is about you, Nancy Pelosi, and what she did to Joe. She took away his influence. She took away his family's ability to sell his influence. Whatever they got while he's in there is all they're going to have.
Yeah.
They're done. So this is, you took away my love.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take away what you love. Because, 65% return.
Yep.
She
That's
traded
just wild.
nearly $4 million in stocks with an estimated wealth of $250 million. That's just this year, Jesse. This is what drives me crazy about all these so-called politicians who serve the people. They all become millionaires. Even the socialist Bernie got 3 mansions. So yeah, he's speaking it now. Where you been for 50 years, Joe? Like, they all do this. AOC is part of the problem. There's a reason why no one with any level head in their mind is going to give her more responsibility. She is, to quote the great Charles Barkley, terrible.
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 Terrible. And that's why, in the end, we need term limits.
That
No?
Jerry
I'm not for
Connolly
that.
is out.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Oh, Mitch, all of them. Get them all out.
Click here to subscribe to the.
Well, there you have it. Look, bunch of BS. Everybody's just saying what they want to say. But it is what it is. Yes, it is what it is. With that being said, let's move on to the next. Boo boo.
We can return to that. Here with reaction, Fox News contributor, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, great to have you. You're saying that Trump, even now, is the de facto president, and I kind of agree with you. I mean, I don't think anyone really cares what Joe and Kamala.
Now, as Trump broken just introduced, because he's saying that Canada has to be the 51st state, or maybe the 51st state. Oh, man, this is going wild. Trump has broken Canada. And I feel like if Canada joins America, that would even be superb. That would be superpower bundle right there. So it's like, I think this is a good idea.
I have to say anymore, except I did laugh when she started giggling again. I do kind of miss the word salads, and I do miss Joe mumbling and bumbling and stumbling and bumbling. I kind of miss it a little bit.
Well, look, I was so glad that she gave that speech today, because ever since Election Day, I've had such joy in my heart, to paraphrase Jill Biden. And now I was reminded once again today, watching Kamala Harris, why I have so much joy. I think everyone I talk to who's really thrilled by President Trump, and we talk about how would we feel right now if Kamala had actually won. And she reminded us again today what a total, utter disaster that would have been. But I want to go a step further. I did write a piece at Gingrich 360 describing the de facto president, because it's clear. And if you watch day by day, President Trump, both in his international relations, I mean, he may have broken Trudeau's government in the last 3 days because Trudeau's strongest ally resigned in disgust at how Trudeau had caved into Trump. And literally, I think Trudeau may lose a vote of confidence in Canada. He clearly, when he went to Notre Dame, was treated in Paris as, in effect, the president. He got a presidential welcome. He met with, I think there were 82 government leaders from around the world. He kept meeting with key people. And I think that President Trump is already beginning to have a direct impact. In fact, even Disney has begun to drop various woke things from their planned presentations, I think, in response to this. So this is one of the most amazing transitions as a historian, I don't remember anything that was quite this decisive in the opening weeks after an election and before an inauguration.
What do you make of what I'm describing as the sabotage that is going on as Joe leaves office, and the border wall and selling it off for pennies on the dollar? It's beyond petty. It doesn't hurt Donald Trump. He's going to buy a new wall, but it really does hurt the American people. They don't need to pay for another wall. Or they're trying to hire loyalists and put them in the Department of Justice, I guess, to sabotage Donald Trump. Then, of course, all the judges they're trying to push through. Then the tens of thousands of federal workers that they're allowing to work remote, or the deal they just made with China, which Donald Trump would never go along with, never would have made that deal as it relates to, trading, technological information, which they're weaponizing. So I mean, it's petty on the one hand, but it also makes Donald Trump's job harder on the other side.
Look, I think when you look at the vote of the American people and you look at how clear the issues were and you see some of this going on, I mean, it's not technically treason, but it is certainly a deliberate and willful undermining of the American people. Not undermining Donald Trump, it's undermining the American people. The American people want the wall built. They voted for it. The American people want tougher relationships with China. They voted for it. And I'm watching what I think is a deliberate and I think malicious and despicable undermining of the American people. They're not just undermining President Trump. They're undermining the American people. And frankly, we have, for example, you'd mentioned this earlier, and I think the more I learn about it, the more astonished I am. The Congress right now should be demanding records on every single commutation and pardon, because you have some really sick people who Joe Biden released. I have no idea how they got on the list, and we ought to be able to track down every memo, every single example. Why were these people, some of whom are pretty sick, child pornographers, people who are totally corrupt, people who bankrupted small towns? I mean, it's hard to understand how they made that list. And I think what the American people deserve is the truth. And we ought to be the people committed to giving the American people the facts.
All right, Mr. Speaker, we appreciate you being with us. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so thank you for tuning in. I will be back here in, let's say, 4 hours before midnight, by God's grace. I will be back here and we're going to do another marathon, probably like 2 or 3 hours. But before that, make sure you double tap your screen, like the live show, subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and believe in God. You know what time it is. It is your boy Genesis. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm out.